Hello, Booktube. This is the Booktube Endgame Tag. As you can tell, I'm at work, but I had time this morning to watch Steve Donahue do this tag, and he tagged me. Thank you, Steve. And last night I watched the original tag from Strip Cover Lit, and I will link both videos down below. So, bit of a challenge, this one, but let's go for it. I'm going to try to do this before anybody walks into the library and wonders why I'm talking to myself. We'll see how it goes. So, the first prompt is paperback or hardback. For me, it's almost always hardback, just because of durability. If it's a book I want to hang on to. But there are times when paperback is extremely convenient, and I do have some paperbacks I love because of cover art, things like that. So, but usually it would be hardback. Number 2, science fiction or fantasy. I do see points that Steve is making about things they have in common. But I pretty much, if I go into a library or a bookstore and I see some categorization where they're separated, I will know what I expect to find in each area. There's times when I want science fiction and I want it to be marked science fiction, and there's times when I want fantasy, and I do have an idea of the difference between the two, and sometimes that genre difference makes a difference to me. So I would go usually with science fiction. I like hard science fiction, military science fiction. I like all sorts of science fiction. So you can even subdivide up the genre. But some of my favorite works of all time have been fantasy, and that would be things like Lord of the Rings, obviously. Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser by Fritz Leiber. Few others. The science fiction, yeah, I would usually choose science fiction. Number 3, poetry or prose. I would go with prose on that one. I like some poetry, but prose for sure. Number 4, Hemingway or Fitzgerald. Frank Herbert, Ursula K. Le Guin. The list is endless. I like some Hemingway, so if I had to choose between Hemingway or Fitzgerald, I would pick Hemingway, but I have other writers that I would prefer. Number 5, fiction or nonfiction. Usually with me, it's nonfiction. I love fiction, but if I had a choice, it matters on the situation. Do I read more of one than the other? Yes, I read more nonfiction. Number 6, Harry Potter or the Hunger Games. This is almost like that Hemingway or Fitzgerald thing. I read all the Harry Potter, and I read the first Hunger Game. Neither of them stacks up, I think, against some of the stuff I read when I was younger, and especially in science fiction or fantasy. If I had to choose between the two of them, I would pick Hunger Games, I suppose. Number 7, classic or modern. Well, I think a classic is literally Greece or Rome, but broadly anything probably from the 19th century and earlier. Modern, I think of as maybe even early 20th century to now. Because I love so much science fiction, that would be modern to me. So anything from Mary Shelley forward, really. I would go with, because of my definition of it, I would go with modern. Number 8, reading or writing. For me, it's definitely reading. Number 9, choose one. Either unlimited reading time, but you don't pick the books, or an hour a day, but you pick the books. Well, a lot of times now, because I'm a librarian, I'm reading books that I do it as part of my work. They're not always things I would choose for myself, so I'm used to that. Many times, all I have is about an hour a day because of work to read, and I do choose. So I do both. If I had to choose one or the other, I'd want to pick my own books, I guess. Number 10, Adrian Fort or Dalton Gentry. I would choose either Adrian Gentry or Dalton Fort. So again, difficult choice. So that was the Booktube Endgame Tag. I hope I wasn't too confusing in this. I tried to get it done here before anybody walks in the door at the library. We have beautiful blue skies. It's been raining here, it seems like, since Noah gave up the boat. And gray skies. Today, I don't know, the windows you can't really tell, but it's nice and blue skies and sunny. I don't know how long it's going to last, so I may go out and do some yard work. So that was the Booktube Endgame Tag. Thank you, Booktube.